consulting on the management and designation of sites. Conor Hinchcliffe from Natural England, Marine Lead Advisor in Natural England's Cumbria area team working on marine nature conservation and marine protected areas from the Solway Firth, and Emilia Suggitt, also from Defra, Policy Advisor in the Defra Highly Protected Marine Area team, supporting work across the team, including site designation and management. Guys, you're on. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, and thank you to Claire and the organisers of the partnership meeting today to invite Defra and Natural England here to talk about the Highly Protected Marine Area project. I'm Georgie, as introduced, I'm in the policy team at Defra.
Hi, I'm Emilia, I work with Georgie at Defra.
Hello everyone, I'm Conor, I'm from Natural England and I work on the Cumbria area team.
So today we're hoping to give you a bit of insight into what highly protected marine areas are and our intention for them and what we want to achieve in the marine environment. Emilia and I will provide a bit of an overview of the project from Defra and the policy behind highly protected marine areas, and Conor will talk through Natural England's specific work at the HPMA at Morecambe Bay, which was recently designated in the Solway Firth area. We had the opportunity to go there yesterday, and curlews have already got a shout out today, but it was just lovely and a clear day to see all the curlews and oyster catchers on the shore there. So I'll pass to Emilia first to give a bit of background.
Oh, have we got... There we go. Sorry. Oh. Is it? Oh, there we go. So I'm going to just talk to you a bit about what highly protected marine areas actually are. So highly protected marine areas, so sometimes we call them HPMAs, are areas of the sea that will provide the highest level of protection in English waters. So by removing pressures from the marine environment, it will help us to recover nature to a more natural state. Highly protected marine areas take a whole site approach to protection, which means that they cover everything in the site, including the seabed, water column and sea surface. This is different to marine protected areas, so you might have heard them called MPAs, which take a feature-based approach to protection, so they protect specific species or habitats, but when we talk about HPMAs, it's in terms of the whole, the feature is the whole site, sorry. So to achieve full recovery, the intention is to prevent all extractive, destructive and depositional activities. So this includes things like fishing, construction, dredging, but other activities that won't hinder the conservation objective of HPMAs will still be allowed to occur. So this includes things like recreational activities, and Natural England are currently in the process of developing some specific conservation advice about what activities these might be. Just go to the next slide. So just to give you some background on the HPMAs and where we are with them, so you can see the map on the screen there. We've got 3 HPMAs that came into force in July 2023, and the 3 sites are Morecambe Bay, that's the one in the Solway area that we went to yesterday, and that's the only inshore site, and that's located in the Irish Sea. And then we've got northeast of Farnsdeep, which is the largest of the 2 offshore sites that we have, and that's located in the northern North Sea. And then we also have Dolphin Head, which is the offshore site, another offshore site located in the Eastern Channel. So HPMAs are designated as marine conservation zones, or MCZs as you might already know them, under the Marine and Coastal Access Act of 2009, and it's specifically, but they have a higher conservation objective specifically to recover the whole ecosystem. HPMAs will help to strengthen the MCZ network that we already have established, and will contribute to other government targets, such as 30 by 30, which is a government commitment to protect 30% land and sea by 2030, and then also commitments in the government environmental improvement plan. I'll pass to Georgie now to give you a bit more insight on the identification process.
Thanks. So this slide provides a bit of an overview of the kind of years of work that's gone into this project. In 2019, the government commissioned an independent review into what the evidence was and in regards to whether to implement HPMAs, and that's known as the Benyon Review, and was led by Lord Benyon, who before the point that he was a minister. From that review, the government kind of accepted the recommendations to move forward with HPMAs, and Defra worked with bodies such as Natural England, JNCC, Marine Management Organisation, Environment Agency, as part of a government delivery group to progress criteria to look at candidate HPMA sites. And so there was a kind of process to look at the most ecologically important sites, but taking into account social and economic impact of those sites as well. And third-party proposals were also considered, and as part of that process, kind of removing areas of the sea where uses were not compatible with HPMAs, so ports and harbour areas, areas of offshore developments, consenting for dredging areas. And from that process, that shortlisting, the government went to consult on 5 candidate sites last year. And for kind of considering the evidence around the kind of social and economic impacts of those candidate sites, ministers announced earlier this year to designate the 3 sites which Emilia has covered, and legislation went through this year to designate those. Oh, next slide. So in terms of management, as these are kind of designated as marine conservation zones, public authorities have to take account of the HPMAs in any kind of marine licensing applications or planning applications. The Marine Management Organisation has recently consulted on a fisheries bylaw to apply to the sites, which would look to prevent recreational and commercial fishing within the sites. That's currently progressing, and subject to kind of sign-off, would be look to be implemented early next year. And more widely than that is kind of work to consider management of non-licensing activities, so kind of recreational activities, and understanding what might be necessary there, which will be informed by work from Natural England, looking at kind of what levels of activities and pressures from kind of those activities. So in terms of, and just like as a kind of, in terms of those activities, so they could range, you know, from further bylaws, but also could include kind of just education with local community and kind of, work just to understand what might be best to progress that management. And then in terms of kind of monitoring, compliance and enforcement, so the Northwestern IFCA is leading on that within Allenby Bay area as the inshore site, and then Marine Management Organisation will be leading on that for the 2 offshore sites. So one of the kind of key recommendations from the Benyon review was around effective evaluation for the HPMAs, and that's kind of a process to understand and assess the design, the implementation, and the outcomes from HPMAs. Defra is taking a kind of natural capital approach to that assessment, so understanding how ecological changes from designation can lead to social and economic impacts. And, you know, we might start to see some of those social and economic changes arising soon, but also recognising that some of those ecological changes, you know, could take 10, 20 years and be kind of monitored through the kind of monitoring programme. So Natural England has developed a kind of evaluation framework to work to test that, and Conor will be touching on that specifically for Allenby in a moment. And there's kind of a consortium of independent consultants which are looking to develop and run that programme to inform that evaluation. I'll pass to Conor to talk more about Allenby Bay.
Thanks, Georgie. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the site and Natural England's role in the monitoring of the site. So this map here shows Allenby Bay. Allenby Bay does overlap with the existing MCZ in the area, with a little bit of the MCZ sort of missing, and this was to ensure that we weren't interfering with activities that take place from the Port of Silloth and also from Maryport. So Allenby Bay covers 27.6 squared kilometres, and it extends from just north of Maryport to just south of Allenby along the shore, and then it extends out about 5.6 kilometres into the sea. So, sorry, just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so this is what the site looks like. And Natural England and Defra carried out a consultation in the area in Maryport to get stakeholder ideas on how people utilise the site and how this would inform which areas that would be included in the site and management as well. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I've just included a little bit of a shameless self-promotion. This is a video that I shot with Defra for the designation of the site back in July, and this is just going to save my voice a little bit and I'll talk a little bit about the site, if we can play that. Okay, all right, no problem. It's on Defra's LinkedIn if you'd like to check it out. Okay, so a little bit about the site, sort of what's included in this video. So we talk a little bit about what I've just said about the area of Allenby Bay, and then we talk a little bit about the site's ecology. So Allenby Bay has been designated for its honeycomb worm reefs, also known as sabellaria, which are quite nicely pictured in the top right picture. These are some photos I've taken while we've been out for monitoring over the last couple of months. So sabellaria or honeycomb worm forms these what we call biogenic reefs, which are reef structures made by animals. And on the left-hand side, you can also see this sabellaria in combination with mussel beds, which also form this biogenic reef, which creates a great nursery habitat for young fish species such as cod and sole, which are very commercially important. And on the bottom, I think after speaking with my senior advisor, this might be the only native oyster in Allenby Bay at the moment. But yeah, we did spot a native oyster while we were surveying the area. This also kind of contributes to these biogenic reefs, not in Allenby, but potentially in the future. So a little bit about the monitoring. So just Natural England's sort of role in the consultation and designation was to provide ecological advice to Defra, and they use this in combination with the socio-economic research that Georgie and Emilia have talked about before in order to sort of come up with the designation for the site. We're now continuing that ecological information through some environmental monitoring. So far we've carried out some habitat mapping. This was done in the form of walkover surveys just to identify different types of habitat along the intertidal, and also some infaunal surveys. So this is taking basically samples of the sediment, looking at the infaunal community, and that also tells us about the different types of sediment along the shoreline. We've also done some carbon coring, and this was to look at the dissolved organic carbon in the sediment, and that picture here shows just how we went about doing that. We've also collected some survey on the birds some information on the birds in the area, and this is from a flyover survey from 2021 and 2022. We're also planning to do some water sampling, so this will include looking at the levels of nitrogen and phosphorus in the water, as well as any contaminants. We'll also use these water samples to look at environmental DNA from the site, compared with some, sorry, lost my thoughts again, compared with some external eDNA as well from outside of the site for comparison, and look at the zooplankton assemblages within the site. We're also going to carry out some shellfish monitoring. This map in the top right here just shows some of the potential sites for some shellfish potting for lobster and crab, as well as some fish monitoring and further habitat mapping in the form of drone surveys to look at the extent of the sabellaria reefs. So essentially, all the monitoring work that we will be doing at Natural England is to inform the two first questions here. So these are just some draft evaluation questions that we've come up with to look at whether the site is achieving its objectives and how we can potentially improve management to help it meet its objectives. Yeah. So I'll just pass back to Emilia now.
That's fine. Thanks. Just 1 second. Sorry. There we go. So just to give you a bit of an idea on next steps, so next year we're going to be introducing the management managers and HPMAs, and this includes the fisheries bylaw, which Georgie was talking to you about earlier, and then we'll continue to progress monitoring and evaluation across the HPMAs as well. So Defra ministers have committed to explore some additional sites as HPMAs, and we've begun already exploring that process, but given the change in Secretary of State recently, we'll just need to go back and retest that ambition with them. That's it from us, but if you've got any questions now or later on, do let me know, and our contact email's at the bottom there. Thanks.
Guys, thank you very much. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the honeycomb reefs that we have are probably the most significant in the world here in Allenby. That was part of the reason, correct?
They're certainly very significant, yes.
Okay, I'll let you follow up on that one. We need to big up the Solway for lots of reasons, and certainly HPMA's catching a lot of attention. We hosted Mary McCallan down in the partnership, thinking about the issues, etc., associated. We do have time for a quick question, if there's one now. Anne, please.
Thanks. Hello, I'm Anne Lingard, or Anne Lackey, who split personality here. I do a lot of low tide guided walks on the Solway. I've written about it and have a lot of contact with the Allenby Bay area. I'm delighted that it's going to be the first inshore HPMA, but I've also been to meetings with local people, and it seems to me it's a classic case of what Susanna was talking about as DAD. You are going in and you've designated it an HPMA. It was formerly an MCZ. There's no overlap. If you talk to local people rather than members of NGOs and governmental organisations, most people have absolutely no idea what any of this is about. You're going to cause great confusion between what happens in the MCZ bits that remain up at Dubmill Point and the HPMA. I mean, local people are asking questions about, can I walk my dogs along there? You know, so you've gone to this back to front. Why didn't you talk to local people first and find out what they felt about this area? And it's getting too late. Once you've actually got this place, this HPMA in position, you're going to have to go out and spend a lot of time explaining to local people what it means, whether the rod and line fishermen can still go out. Can people go and collect soft-shell crabs? All kinds of things like this that, you know, this should have been up front, and I'm wondering what you're going to do about it.
Yeah, so I'll start by answering that, and then I might let Georgie add anything if I've forgotten anything. So we did come out during the consultation to sort of gather views and evidence in like an in-person workshop, and hopefully a few of you might have been able to attend that as well. Just to go on your point on, we're really keen that they aren't no-go zones, so people can still use the site, and we are working with Natural England to sort of create a bit more advice for people, and we will like get in touch with people about that, and there'll be more communication in the future. We're trying to explore the route for having some signs in the area to sort of make that clearer to people. Just on your quick point about the angling in the site, so angling is not permitted in an HPMA, so that's the intention, not catch and release angling either. So just because it's an extractive activity. Georgie, have I missed anything?
The MCZ abuts the HPMA, so how does the fisherman know where the boundary is?
Yeah, okay, I might let Georgie answer that one.
So, as I said recently, the MMO is consulting on a fisheries bylaw, so as part of that process, there'll be lots of communications around kind of the fishing activity in the site. But yeah, I think you're right. These sites are kind of designated now, and there's a need for consideration of what management is going to be effective. And and Natural England is producing specialist advice around activities such as dog walking and recreational activities, and that's the next stage really. Is to that. Yeah, you're right. This kind of takes. Yeah, but yeah, happy to discuss.
Guys, I'm going to keep you here. Popular one, this one. We've got our first online question, so we've broken the duck with that.
Okay, so we've got a question from Colin Bartholomew. He asks, what work are you doing across borders, i.e. the Scottish side?
So in terms of marine management, so Scottish Government is a devolved marine management and Scottish Government inshore area, and as I understand it, so the Scottish Government's recently published a summary of response to their consultation on highly protected marine areas last week. So as the UK government, our focus is on Secretary of State waters in terms of highly protected marine areas. But yeah, we work with Scottish officials to understand the different policies going on there.
Thanks, team. Do stay for lunch. There's definitely a hot topic, so thank you for that.